Okay, so we all really need a reset, and that's why we hit the road. That's why we go camping with our RVs or whatever our setup is. But how do we most effectively reset our minds and our emotions while we're out there? We brought in an expert, so let's get to it.
Welcome to RV Small Talk, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and things that go along with them. We are your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Clint, and PJ is doing her job, so we might get her on the microphone here in a little bit. In the meantime, check out all episode show notes at rvsmalltalk.com or join the conversation on our Facebook group, which is RV Small Talk Community. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening, and let's jump in right now. Lindsay, who do we have?
We brought Tiffany. Tiffany Otting has been a guest before.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's been like a year.
Craft.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we talked to her and Lisa about just kind of the science and psychology around feeling like, why do we feel better when we go outside? Why do people crave like being outside? What it does for your mood. So if you haven't heard that one, you should go back and listen to it because it's definitely one of my favorite episodes. But today, well, hi, Tiffany.
Hi. Hi, guys. I'm glad to be here.
We'll let you talk.
just a little bit. So I think today we're going to talk more about how to get the most out of being outside, being like going camping, things like that. Obviously, after the state of the world, the pandemic, everybody's ready to go out. And like you said, Clint, hit that reset button and just kind of...
So necessary.
Just kind of get back to mentally where we used to be. So let's figure out how to do that.
And Tiffany,
I mean, you just go out in the woods and just stay in there.
Yeah, just absorb, soak it in. But Tiffany, you said this is timely for you. Why? Tell us more.
Sure. It's timely because in just a few days, my family and I are headed to Yellowstone for a camping, hiking, excursion, adventure. In a way that we've never done before.
Well, so, what is that way?
Just doing it at all.
Really? So are you going with the mindset of like, this is what our family needs to like reconnect and just kind of get back? Or is it just like, let's take a vacation?
No, this has been, let's see, I think like 4 months of planning, of which I've done maybe 5%. My wife has done the rest.
Well played.
Well,
yeah, so I'm the winner of that. And yeah, it was very intentional because with the pandemic and everything being so virtual and having to do so much online, even in my practice, doing therapy online for 1.5 years, and then the kids being online at school, we just want to get away from that. Like, there's a place for online. We're on it right now, but like there's too much. Yeah. And so we really were intentional in our planning to just get to a place where like no one could reach us online.
Right. Right.
Now I want to rewind just a second because for people who didn't hear the first episode, can you tell people who you are besides amazing and smart?
Well, it all started back on, no.
Back in 1980. No, I am the co-founder of a mental health practice in Georgetown, Texas called Revolutionary Wellness. And we are an animal assisted and nature-based practice most of the time. But for the previous 18 months, we've been a virtual practice, which was never the plan. And we've actually just opened our offices back up a month ago.
It's kind of the opposite of the plan, right?
It was the total
nature-based, tech-based.
Yeah, total opposite. But we're back to the nature-based, animal-assisted work outside, and I'm loving that. I'm so happy to be back doing what I love. So yes, that is who I am, and my wife Lisa and I met you all when we were doing some crisis work during Harvey in 2017.
Hurricane Harvey.
So that's gosh, what is that? 5 years now?
Oh my gosh, it does go way back.
Besties.
Yeah,
we're a handful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is what brings me here.
All right, and so back to your trip. What are you excited about as far as like the reset button?
For me personally, the reset button is hiking a trail, and the only things that I'm hearing are things in nature. I'm not hearing an email ding. I'm not hearing the news. I'm not hearing anything other than just a sensory experience of nature. So I'm sure there's a potential for some tween teen complaining.
Right.
Because we have 4.
You'll have to hear that.
We'll have 4 of those with us.
Oh, 4?
4, yes. It's 3 adults, 4 tween teenagers, and a guide that we've hired.
Oh, man.
Yeah. You all can't see their faces, listeners, but there's wide-eyed looking at me.
It's a lot.
Yes, you have signed up for some
Are you
tween.
Are you sure you're going to set the reset button?
I'm not. I'm totally not sure what I
I'll
am.
have to find out.
Yeah, I'm open to finding out, and we'll just see how it goes. So what I'm also excited for though is the guide. So we've hired someone through a company that we're just going to show up at this trailhead with our personal items, but they have all the packs packed.
Nice.
And they have all the food prepped. And so when we talk about, what am I looking forward to, or how can we make the most of that time for me and my family in this moment, what is so helpful is that we've resourced that part out.
Right.
A lot of that tedious packing and planning that we just haven't had time to do. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. It's as close to a resort experience as you can have.
In Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Backpacking.
You have to do stuff at this resort.
I don't think you've described resort at all.
Well, the part about having all the stuff done ahead of time, that's the closest piece. But for me, that is, I think, what's going to make it is because I haven't had to do a lot of the prep work. We've sourced that out.
We talked about this briefly before we turn on the mics. That's to me worthwhile in this point in time. So usually we call that, well, that's just spending a lot of money for someone else to do stuff when you can save money, whatever. No, I'm all about the convenience fee of this particular setup you've described. You travel light. You get there, and someone who knows their stuff. I didn't have to spend all that time Googling, researching, making my packing list, actually getting the stuff, Amazoning everything, putting it together, retrying it, weighing it, seeing if it'll fit on the airplane. None of that. The stress was deciding if it's worth it to me. And once I decide it's worth it to me, then I pay that convenience fee.
Yeah.
And I go live that experience knowing that I have someone responsible even for me.
Well, understanding what's stressful to you, that might not be stressful to somebody else. Right. That might be, their reset button or their, reason for wanting to go on the trip because I get to, pack and organize and buy new stuff. And
I do know people like this.
Yeah.
I do.
I know you do.
I'm not those people, but I do know
either.
them and I honor their lived experience.
But you understand what stresses you out, and you understand that having somebody else do this allows you more time to actually do what you went there to do,
Yeah.
I'm doing things with my hands.
Yeah, people can't see you.
But I can't say things with words.
She's kind of shaking it off a little bit.
I'm Taylor Swift right now?
She's Taylor Swift.
Don't call me Tay-Tay. We'll have trouble.
And we talked about this. This is actually a conversation I had at home last night. And it's that, I have this trailer. And it's kind of in a way, well, I have this trailer. I should use the trailer. But I told Laura, I said, and yet, me growing up didn't want anything to do with trailers. And part of me still doesn't want to face that. I still think that there's room in my camping life that I want to go backpacking and tent camping still. And that we need to look ahead and do some of that with the kids and maybe just she and I or what have you. But this is one of those things. A lot of our listeners are RVers, but there's still some space for, well, we don't have to do the RV trip this time. We can go to Yellowstone and backpack it if we find the right way to do it. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. I kind of ride that line as well because we love to do RV stuff. And we just thought for this kind of really far away, for us getting the most out of it meant, like you said, paying someone to do that upfront work. And going back to your original question of how do we get the most out of it is knowing yourself. So like knowing what is stressful for you, knowing what you can tolerate. And sometimes you may not even know that until you go out and do these camping trips and find that, find your limit.
Know what to take off your plate to have a good experience.
Know what to take out of your pack because it's heavy.
and I think,
dang, Clint.
well, that's a metaphor for life. Yeah. I think too, showing yourself compassion, like you don't have to, I don't know, like be alone and naked and afraid to have the
That's like Lindsay's favorite show.
Why did you bring that up? I just watched an episode last night. It was amazing.
It is amazing. And also
I'm never going to do it.
Right. Like we can be campers and backpackers and hikers without going to the farthest extreme.
Make you less. It doesn't make you like your experience less.
That's right.
Because it's not as extreme or complete, or you let somebody else do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if those people on that show know that there's a whole television crew out there with them.
There's also wildlife, Clint.
Oh
God. We should do a whole episode on Naked and Afraid. I'll talk forever.
Okay. So let's just start with you. You're going to get out there, and of course there's going to be some schedule because y'all have some waypoints you have to hit to get to your sites.
That's right.
That are set up for you. But what do you think we might find you, if we had a lens, what we might find you doing to get your reset, the most out of your time resetting?
This kind of
and then we can expand it.
Yeah, this kind of makes me want to have a lens, someone following me. I mean, that sounds creepy, as I say.
I can't. I'm going to be in Colorado, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be there.
That would be creepy.
Yeah.
So, no, for myself, what's my reset? I think there's something for me. I'm a musician, and there's something really rhythmic to me about walking and hiking, with the pauses and the rhythm that you get into, and especially when you're with a group. And there's going to be 7 of us and a guide. So for me, that's it. Like when there will be a point, and I fully believe it. There will be a point on some day, I hope it's in the earlier of the days, where I just feel really in sync with myself, with my family, with nature. And I will look around and be in awe of the nature that's around me. And that'll be it. Like that'll be my reset. And then I'll get to ride the reset for the rest of the
It's kind of like catching
trip.
your wave. If you can catch that reset wave early in your trip, then you get to ride it for the rest and kind of appreciate it.
Yes. So that's what I'm hoping for. And also for me personally, with the work that I do, but I'm sure with the work that everybody does, we're all inundated with emails and texts and phone calls and all those things. And I have learned about myself. It takes me a day or two of not engaging with that to really even
have a chance,
allow myself
go to the other side. Yeah. You can't just turn it off and then be like, okay, my head is clear. Like,
yeah, it doesn't, maybe some people can, it doesn't work that way for me. And so that's a piece of it too, is like, I'm going to stop working tomorrow at 1. So I have like a full, probably 48 hours of not working before we get to the trailhead.
You're going to head it off early. Yeah. Maybe get the process started. That way you're in a better place when you arrive up there. Yeah.
So the vacation part is there's like a pre-gaming to vacation for me, because otherwise I'm not going to enjoy the space that I'm in and the people that I'm with.
Because part of you is still over there.
Yeah, there's a transition piece for me, and I've heard a lot of people describe that. So that may be some a way to broaden this out, of allowing yourself transition time and space before you are getting to the thing that you want to do and enjoy.
I never thought about that.
So we got your version of what you're looking for. Sure. What if someone's like, I actually have no idea what to try, I don't know, how would they go about finding a few things that you say, give this a go or whatever? And what are the kind of ear markers of you'll know you're onto something?
Oh, I know this answer.
Okay.
You'll know you're onto something when you lose time.
Okay.
Oh.
You'll know you're onto something when you've been doing something or being somewhere.
Engrossed. And I think I've heard of it as like flow state.
Yes, some people call it flow. There's another, I work with children a lot and parents. And when we talk about play with children, it's where they lose time. They're just fully engrossed and engaged in what they're doing. And it's...
What if they just can't tell time yet? Because...
Well, that could also be it. Maybe they have a benefit there.
No, but they still understand, passing like a little bit of time or a lot of time.
Yeah.
Come on, Clint.
Okay, fine.
I guess then, and if they can't tell time, we talk about it in terms of sleeps. How many sleeps until we get somewhere?
How many shows? Or is that just me? How many YouTube videos?
How many episodes?
That just me?
Sure. So yeah, just when you lose time doing something, keep doing that, because that is the adult version of play.
Okay.
And we all need play. Even if we're, even especially being adults. So to me, that's the benchmark of, that's where to find your reset, your freedom of mind and spirit and body is when you lose time.
I think, I thought it was interesting that you said your reset was like that moment where you feel very in sync with your family and connected and just kind of, all encompassing. It's that moment. For me, it's the opposite. I don't think I've ever had a moment. I think for me, it's like I have to be quiet or be by myself. Like when I'm camping, go over there without my kids, without my phone, and just stare at a tree or, meditate or walk in the water in the creek or whatever. But I have to do that continuously. And I don't think I've ever had a moment where I was like, this is it, and then ride the wave. For me, it was at the end of it, I look back and I think because I did those things continuously, the whole experience feels like a reset.
So you've been in those moments, engaged in those moments, but at the other side of those moments, you're like, I feel better.
I feel better in the moments that aren't like that because I take multiple of those moments because I know what I need, and that's to be over there.
Okay.
So I thought that was weird that you said that's the moment. I wonder if most people have a moment, or if most people I don't know. People are weird.
I imagine it's different for everyone. what you're describing, Lindsay, reminds me of a meditative practice. I mean, that's a practice. That's a thing. That's a thing that you return to as a base.
Because if I did it once during a whole camping trip, I wouldn't feel fulfilled and I wouldn't feel like it did anything.
So I don't know if this describes you or not, but I generally am a big picture person. And so when the question is asked to me, I think about the big picture. And I don't know if you're more of a detail person or not, but
I don't know either, to be honest.
But what you described are the small details and steps that bring us to that moment.
That's so crazy.
So you're aware of the small, what are those called? Increments
that create this bubble around the whole thing.
So Lindsay, are you okay with this putting this whole session that you're getting here out there as a podcast?
Yeah, how much do I owe you, Tiffany?
We're good. We're even.
What about you, Clint? Do you feel I
don't feel.
I know that, robot man.
I have a feeling. I just lost it. I don't know.
It's okay. The good news is you're editing this thing. So
resets. I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. I have things that I would like to do. I've probably been envisioning since I was a kid, because I didn't do a whole lot of camping as a kid, and travels weren't to outdoor spaces and all that. I mean, when I was growing up, I was helping out on the ranch, but that was just the same place with the same goats and donkeys with the same fences that needed repaired, kind of thing.
That was work, not play.
Right. Now, I lost myself in those moments because I'm bored and I have a wandering mind. But I think I was always envisioning actually doing the backpacking trips and maybe being kind of that, my side of the mountain kind of wild kid. And so I'm too old and broken to actually go and live that way, but just to be in those settings, and maybe somewhere in the middle, the two of you just be there, soak it up, and instead of building the perfect campfire from the Boy Scout book I read because I couldn't be a Boy Scout. I can just poke at the fire someone else made because that bothers people, and it makes me really joyous that they are irked that I'm
That's
poking
your
a fire.
moment?
Yeah.
Irking other people?
Who aren't even there.
Clint.
All right.
I feel my energy being annoyed.
From miles away. No, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm about to go for a week in Colorado myself with my family. So maybe I'll have a better definition. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll go and find a definition.
Find your reset and what it means for you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Well,
You better figure it out.
You will, because I'm taking up yodeling. The hills are going to be alive with the sound of music, and I'm not good with musicals.
I'm so excited.
I am wearing lederhosen.
Get an apron. All right.
What other things might do it? We've talked about the rhythm and the being together, the activities of resetting, the place, just the being lost in your thoughts and all that. But is there some other healthy stuff to think about? Maybe the nutrition end of things, or maybe a morning routine that you wouldn't otherwise have a chance at. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I remember what I was thinking of earlier is that allowing yourself space to explore what are those things, because a lot of us, I don't think we know.
Yeah.
Like once we become adults and we get in our jobs and our paths and parenting and all the things we do adulting, we forget what it is that
You're inspiring me. I'm totally trying any mushroom I run across.
I mean, for the record, I did
really,
not.
no.
I'm so excited.
My stomach could not handle that.
But is that something you need to like schedule literally? Like, okay, we're going out camping. I'm gonna figure out. I don't know. How do you do that?
So
how do you plan that?
I don't know that you do. I think it's just allowing yourself to be in it, to be with the space that you're in.
Okay.
And allowing yourself to be present. And then also, because what I imagine that might happen to me and also might happen to other people on trips like this is this like running script or monologue in your mind of, well, I should be doing it this way, or I should be doing it that way, or I should. And I think dialing that back and having some compassion for yourself.
Okay.
And saying, yeah, I could do it this way, or I've seen other people do it this way on TV, but it's okay for me to just be how I am in this moment.
Okay. So if I'm thinking, if I have the backing track in the theater of the mind, I climb every mountain. I feel like I'm on that cliff like Sylvester Stallone, and I'm thinking I should hold on, but no, I should give myself the ability to let go.
I mean, on a mountain.
Don't give him.
Yeah. I feel like we're talking about surviving versus thriving here. So we're going to pretend that we're not on the side of a mountain hanging on.
We're
Solution.
just in a campsite.
So no permanent solutions to temporary problems?
No, not from me today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I think just giving yourself permission to not judge your experience based on what you've seen or heard from other people.
The last time I was in Colorado, I tried fly fishing for the first time. And I will say it's easy to get lost in the setting, kind of like what we talked about. And you can be separated, kind of like you were talking about. And there's almost a musical rhythm to the action, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
So to me, that was actually fun. And I was catching nothing because when else would I ever have been fly fishing? I don't know.
So I can speak to that on like a neuroscience level for a second.
Oh,
We'll
yes.
get really nerdy neuroscience. So in the rhythm of what you're doing with your body, you are actually creating regulation in different parts of your brain. So when you are moving your body and fly fishing in particular, you're crossing what's called the midline of your body. So if you think of, and y'all can't see my hands here, but the middle of the two hemispheres of the brain, we cut the body down the middle. That's the midline. And so when you are casting, you're crossing the midline and integrating the two halves of your brain, which regulates your brain.
Is a balancing sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's why, I mean, you can lose yourself in that because you're providing brain and body regulation that generally we don't get out here. In the rest of the world.
I'm going to own it.
Mom's spaghetti.
I don't know that there's a lot of midbrain regulation at 8 Mile, but
Clint and I have been yelling "Mom's spaghetti" at each other for like years.
I'm glad I was able to help you integrate that into the podcast today.
Well, the decision was actually made yesterday that I'm not going to commit to finding time to fly fish, but maybe I should commit to finding time to.
I think maybe that it was like, I mean, yes, the whole thing, cross thing, but maybe your thing is doing something new. Like you really like learning things. Like it's kind of annoying.
Exhausting, but
I know
like
it's kind of annoying. But like maybe when you go camping, it's about like, I don't know, learning something new, like going on a walk and finding one plant that you can eat.
You know what I'm going to do?
No, God bless.
I don't believe in Sasquatch, but I'm going to go find him.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, please tell me this episode is going to come out after the other one. He's alive. He exists. And we love him. We must protect him at all costs.
I mean, I can't prove that he doesn't.
Thank you. That's all I needed from you, Tiffany. You can go now.
Okay. I'm glad I was here to help. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Where were we?
So we've talked about trying something new.
Yeah.
We've talked about playing. We've talked about losing time, finding your rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are always that you can get the most out of what you're doing.
Okay, but how, after you've gotten the most out of what you're doing, can you bring it back?
You can't. It's so hard. It's impossible.
Well, maybe
it's impossible, isn't it?
I don't think it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Just put it in your little lunch bag and
put it in your pocket.
I think you bring it back
with it.
You bring it back with the same intention in which you found it, is giving yourself compassion, understanding that you have most of the time have to go back into this world that is not as kind or organic or rhythmic as nature and camping and backpacking, and allowing yourself to remember those things.
Yeah.
Even, another way that you can bring it back, take a really nice photo while you're there. Put it up in your workspace. I have a photo right now in one of my workspaces that every time I look at it, it just reminds me of this wonderful, beautiful day that I had.
Yeah.
And so when I'm having a really crappy day at work and I look at that, it brings me immediately back to it.
Okay.
So souvenirs, mementos, like I think we kind of, maybe scoff at some of those things, but they're symbols of a beautiful time. And so some kind of souvenir or symbol.
I'm bringing back some raccoon scat.
I think it's worth saying, like, to kind of wrap it all up, that all these things we're saying, whether it's finding what your reset button is or bringing it back to the real world, it all takes practice. So, like, just give yourself some time, and like it takes practice to bring it back here. I can imagine. I've never done it before, but I can imagine it takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes practice figuring out what makes you feel better when you're camping. But if you're going to go out there to try to reset, to try to feel better, then it's worth exploring.
And if you find something, maybe it's not even in a camping trip or something like, but if you start finding those things, and you kind of have to do that whole thing where you give yourself some grace and you give yourself the space to do that a little bit more regularly.
Yes.
Like we were saying that it's hard to pull away from all the input that we get, all the stimuli of email and phone and all that. And we all know that we need to regulate ourselves a little bit better, but those things kind of control us and own us and modify us. But if we can get those resets somehow, then we come back into those situations, they'll start modifying us again. But if we go to the camping and the hiking or the fishing or whatever a little bit more often each year, then it doesn't have as much power over us, and we reset more often, so it can't control us the same way.
Yeah. And I think too, talking about it. So again, listeners can't see Lindsay's face, but when you were talking about finding those little moments and having your feet in the creek, like your whole face changed. So
really?
you do bring it back with you.
Yeah. But when I talk, it contorts completely different.
But just remembering, just remembering those moments and sharing them and talking about them, listening to
Healthy.
podcasts like this.
Yeah.
Like that's what helps us bring it back and keep it alive when we're not there.
I do bring it back.
You do.
This moment will live on forever.
I'm going to listen to this podcast.
digitally.
All right. I think we beat this up enough. PJ's going to be pissed.
We'll tell her to go find her flow state somewhere. Find yourself some inner peace.
Yeah, and tell us all about it.
Tiffany, thank you so much. As always, anytime we reach out to you, try to find a way to make time for us.
You're
and
welcome.
You're gracious to put up with my shenanigans and Lindsay's whatever you call it.
Wonderfulness.
Of course. This is a fun way to lose time. It's fun.
Good.
All right.
Very
We're
good.
a
very
fun
good.
way to lose time.
Could be worse.
I'll take it.
So anyone who's listening, go check out the work. Where do they find your work? It's a website and whatnot.
Yes, it is www.revolutionarywell.com. You can find us on social media with the handle @RevWellTexas,
Okay.
and the business is Revolutionary Wellness.
Okay. So go check that out, and you can find the show notes here for this episode or anything else at rvsmalltalk.com. Join us on Facebook.
And tell us what your reset button is
Yes.
at our RV Small Talk community page on Facebook.
I want to read those.
I know. I
Yes,
want to know.
please do.
if
We
you
love
tell
hearing
us,
from y'all.
We'll tag Tiffany, and she'll give
Analyze you.
Yeah, analyze you.
I'll, not if I'm off the
Just
clock.
kidding. Just kidding. It's very expensive.
she will hit that heart button. and
Yeah,
we'll be
she
fine.
will.
I will do that. I'll show you some love on
Or the
social
care
media.
button.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And don't forget, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, it really helps the podcast out. If you will leave us a 5-star review and maybe some comments or suggestions right there in Apple Podcasts, it's really the best way to help us get more reach. And until next time, go reset, go take care of yourselves. And we love you, and
Namaste, y'all.
stretch it out. Bye.
Bye-bye.